Welcome to day 131. My name's Amanda and this is Getting to Know God. Today we're going to be looking at the story of day 131, and it says everything is lost, which can be found in 1 Samuel verse 30. David and his men marched for 2 days, trudging slowly back to Ziklag. As they grew nearer, they saw telltale whispers of smoke rising from the city, and a strong smell of burning came to them on the wind. They broke into a run, afraid of what they might find at the end of their journey. When they arrived, no families rushed out to greet them. There was not an animal to be seen. The men gazed at the charred remains of Ziklag and called in vain to their wives and children. There's no answering shout. Tired and full of grief, they began to cry. When they had worn themselves out from crying, they turned angrily on David, picking up stones to throw at him. The men who had followed him loyally for as long had lost faith in their leader. It seemed as if he had brought them nothing but disaster. They guessed that raiders who knew that they were away at war had swooped down on undefeated Ziklag, taking everything and leaving the wooden fortress to burn. David was desperate. Abiathar, who had escaped Saul's terrible murder of the priests of Nob, was still with David. Abiathar, please speak to God for me and ask him what I should do, David implored him. Go after the raiders, Abiathar told him. That is God's message to you. David felt braver. He encouraged his men to set off to find the raiders, whoever they might be. Once more the men were ready to follow him, but when they reached the Besar brook, some of them were too exhausted to wade across and march any further. Stay here, David told them kindly. You can look after all the baggage so that the rest of us can travel light and go more quickly. So 200 of his men stayed behind and rested and splashed across, whilst the rest splashed across the brook and marched eagerly on. What do you think of that then? Before there was calm, there was peace, there was quiet, and this seems like the storm. And there's that famous saying, the calm before the storm. But we don't know what the outcome is. We don't know what's actually happened, and often we go crazy, like these men wailed and cried and were extremely upset. But we don't know what's actually happened to the women. There were no women's bodies, there were no children's bodies. And so they're just expecting the worst straight away. Do you expect the worst straight away? Or do you just look? This evidence says that something's happened. There are no women and children's bodies here, so let's see if we can find them. And then once you find them, then you either grieve if they're being hurt, or you rejoice because they haven't been hurt. Maybe the lesson is just look at the evidence before we jump to a conclusion that is negative. I hope this helps you. God bless.